Ladies and gentlemen, please excuse the technical difficulties. We are on part 3 now.
All right. Well, I believe we're back. Everybody in the chat, let us know if you can hear us.
So that's how potato chips are made. Thanks, Zach.
I'm potato chipping?
No, he's being funny.
Oh, gotcha.
In pieces. That's basically what you're saying there. Potato chips are made in pieces.
Well, hold on. I just want to make sure there is a bit of a delay, just so everybody knows. So if you guys are hearing us, we just want to verify that everything's good, and it looks like we are good now. So, yeah, with that being said, sorry about those technical difficulties. YouTube just randomly dropped the stream, which is odd. So, yeah, we decided to finish off the episode. So, welcome to part 3. Yeah, so launch mount, huh?
We were just showing the last pieces getting installed.
Right. Yeah. So they have on the other side that I was looking at before, and there's a ton of images here. So we can see that this section has not been filled in yet. They do have part of it shaved off. Still haven't done this one. I'm assuming that may be done by now. But the other last thing that they usually do before they put the panel on is remove the handrails. So all of these handrails are gone because they're not really needed anymore once these panels are installed. And when we zoom in here, you can actually see that another thing that they do after they install the panels is, or maybe even before, is they cut these walkway, I don't know what you want to call them, the curb.
Big plates.
Yeah. So they cut this off as well too, because once this plate is installed, it's actually widening the walkway,
and
which is nice. That. Yeah, because there's a lot of places where you'll see them like try and squeeze by some of the boxes. So this allows them to not have to do that, and it's a lot more free space to actually move through the, I guess you want to call it like the hallway. So yeah, once they get these last pieces off, I'm sure they'll lift that other piece on. And beyond that, I mean, that should be the last of those upper panels. I do believe that we'll still see lower panels installed. We haven't seen too many brackets for that yet, other than on the front side.
But I'm going to give you a quick update as far as what's going on. There's only one of these holes is left. It's the gentleman with the gray shirt. That's the one that is currently left. And then there are two what I call half panels. They go up against the booster QD, the hood at least. And so really we have one and two halves, which you don't put those two halves together. They're separate. So this entire area has been enclosed since last night. They've been going quick. But
yeah,
there's
so the handrails are removed at this point already.
Yeah, and the kick plates on the right.
Yeah, they removed the plate on this side, so they were just getting ready to lift up that. This is probably just a few minutes before they ended up lifting that piece, I'm assuming.
Yeah, you could probably see the flyover, the difference there, because this was in the early morning when he took these photos, and the flyover was in the afternoon. One thing I've noticed is this bracket, this that's at the bottom here. This one's a bit different. Why do you think they need that particular bracket? Is it just for the plate that's for the...
Yeah, there'll be a plate over this that covers these cryotubes, and the fact that this is here, to me, says that there will be similar frames. Well, actually, I don't think that you can put the same type of frame because it looks like it actually goes down into here. They would probably need a shorter one that installs... connects to the back, which would be difficult. I don't even, man. So for one, once they get all of this stuff up here, they're going to have to remove all the scaffolding at some point so that they can get back there and install more brackets for the remaining stuff. But beyond that, I mean, you can see the size of these gaps. I don't think that they will go without closing these.
Yeah, you can see how the thickness of the plates are going to be. So up above, you can see the previous plate.
They started shaving it off.
Yeah, so they've angle grinded this off, and you can see that that'll be the width of the plate. So go over to the left, it shows it a little bit better. That is the original width. So you can kind of compare the two on the left and the right. So it's going to be just a thinner plate that goes onto this part, and then they'll do another plate on the side as well. They just haven't gone through and angle grinded the paint off. But the top is the most necessary one because of all the flames and pressure behind it. You don't want going on the inside. But the same thing should be applied for the sides as well. Just think of it like a one stick versus a bundle of sticks. One's easy to break, a bundle is hard. So just make it structurally better and add those particular pieces on. But they still have about a week if they do about 14 hours with a crew of about 14 people.
I mean, I still think it's going to be more than that. We haven't seen any of this stuff shaved off yet, so.
That's just for these pieces and the plates that they need to add on. It's going to take a while, and we've only seen crews of maybe 5-6 people, so it'll take maybe 20 days. And that's just for the those plates at the top, not to mention the stuff at the bottom.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people message me dates for the first launch, and it's hard for me to take any of that stuff seriously, knowing like what this looks like on the outside. Like, and I said this last week, I just cannot imagine SpaceX not finishing this properly. So, with everything that's happened in the past, the last thing I think they would want is the potential for one of these to rip off, even though they're tack welded down. They're not fully seated. They're fully seated. They're just not fully attached. So,
yeah, they've been doing the inside welds, and they've been going like crazy. Every night you can see welding from the inside between the gaps. So they're constantly going. It's just we're seeing only the inside welds, not the outside welds. So we expect to see an outside weld at the top as well. So you really just adhere the entire plate from one system to the other, and that'll require a lot of beating because there's going to be a gap there.
Yeah. So it would be interesting to see what this next, the next step for this looks like. I am kind of surprised that they haven't started putting framework here for the remaining panel, but with this one, it doesn't need to taper out because this is such a much larger box than the one on the other side. So I don't know. This one may actually just be able to be a flat panel that comes all the way up here, possibly for this one. But all of this stuff down here, I mean, covering these cryo tubes is a little bit easier because there's these boxes for the cryo tubes. So I wouldn't be surprised if whatever they have designed mounts onto the edges of these boxes. Although probably would make sense for something a little heavier duty to be installed down there, considering what they did on the opposite side, on the other leg. So yeah, I mean, this is looking really cool, though. Let's see if I can get an image showing more of the QD area. That's not the greatest one to show it. Let's see. Yeah, you can see the one missing piece here. It looks like they installed, I don't know if this was here. That must have been there before.
Yeah. They pulled that out, put it in, pulled it out, put it in. That's the third one or the third iteration of the same thing.
Right. And so now they just got to get that one piece here. And I can't remember if it stuck out all the way over here or not.
No, it was just like the rest of these pretty much. So yeah, it was pretty much a flat piece, what I could see. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how they fill in the rest of it. If they use another piece to just do a last little extra a bit there, or what. But that's interesting.
Yeah, and one of the things that I find interesting, I wonder if they could paint the whole thing black like they have the QD hood. But
that would be awesome.
Yeah, it would be really nice if the launch mount was black. Truthfully. But yeah, I mean, this is really cool down here. You can see that they've actually have fully welded this on, at least, it looks like.
Yeah, and that's like the zinc coating that they put on afterwards.
Several passes around here. So that was a big job, I'm assuming. We didn't get to see that, though, because, it's behind on the backside. So most of this was probably done at night. But it's looking good back there. So that looks fully done. And we're still waiting on the rest of it. So
another good piece of news here is that QD hood, it's still basically a bolted on system. They've added a bottom plate to the QD hood, and then they've added this extra piece going to the leg. But they basically go through and pull off the whole hood and get access underneath to replace cryo pipes or anything else they need to in the future, because those cryo pipes are flexing at very cold temperatures. You're going to probably spring some leaks over time.
Yeah, this part right here is new as well, right?
Yeah, that entire bottom section right there.
So yeah, that was a pretty decent weld they had to do there. But yeah, I mean, this thing is looking really nice. I'm excited for it. This looks like a lobster shell, or like a scorpion. But I really love the way it attached to this leg, and I'm definitely excited to see the rest of it. It's interesting. The launch mount looks really funny just because there's two legs on it that have no shielding at all. But yeah, obviously they're also going to have to finish that stairway, which they seem to be taking their time on. But that probably won't take that long to just lift that piece in there. Although I wonder if they have to do something special to cover this, or if that might just stay exposed. I mean, I hope not. Yikes.
It looks like the way they've got it built, it looks pretty exposed.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to get roasted. So, yeah, not too much left to finish on that. So
just use the whole gallon of paint on that one.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, we're getting close now, and I don't know, if just a few more weeks left, I would say. But what do you think, Thomas?
Oh, I'm still pretty optimistic, but I'm kind of going towards like a launch date of around the 27th at this point. It's kind of pushing that way based off of everything we see that's left and how slow things are still kind of going. I mean, the panels have been going up fast, which is great. It means that they can really start welding soon, but there's still a lot of stuff, especially on the outside, to do that we can actually go through and count and measure and see, where the inside it's harder to tell, but
right,
they're getting there.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome to see, though. I guess one last thing that we haven't covered is the water deluge, at least from the launch site. So let's we've talked about it from the Sanchez side, where they're actually constructing everything, but we might as well touch on it from here as well too. One of the interesting things that we've seen this week is a massive amount of these compressed gas cylinders arriving. And these are interesting. I think based on the color codes, we were able to figure out that they're supposed to store helium. Pure. I think I can't remember the full. It wasn't pure helium. I almost want to say it was like semi-pure helium or something like that was the label. But yeah, so we've seen at least 5 or 6 truckloads of these come in, and I think there's even been more this morning. So it's very interesting. I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think these are similar to the ones that are stored in this, in that all they need is the racking system. Like, they have to slide them through the rack. I think that they're made to be mounted like this.
Yeah.
And so we'll probably see that rack actually show up, and more than likely it'll go in this spot. So I think these are slightly longer. Yeah, slightly longer than the other ones, which you can see down here. So they gave them a little bit more space, although I don't know if that seems like it's fully necessary, but yeah, they gave it a little bit more space. So I'm guessing all 4 of these will be stacked on top of this, and then we'll see like another huge rack of these right here.
Well,
and
the footings will be the same on both. So they don't the top one, it's offset just as much as the bottom one is.
Yeah, I think it's just getting it further away from the tank.
Yeah,
so it's weird,
and that makes sense. They already have a little bit of the length there, so they just need the saddles to be in the same locations on both of these, basically. And they have these. If these are helium or compressed gas helium tanks or some variation thereof, they should be able to hold a bit more pressure. And I'm liking this. So we might be looking at like 20 bar or some greater number. Some of these tanks, they go up to like 295 bar. It's just impressive. They're really thick shells. They're pretty thin as far as the inside, but they hold a lot of pressure.
Yeah, this will be interesting once they finally get this done. I'm wondering why they couldn't just use the same type. I mean, they clearly knew ahead of time that it was going to be a different type, but I'm wondering what the reason for that is. Like, I think it is a possibility that one of these could be like almost similar to like an accumulator, where you have like your supply reservoir and then your sorry, what's the other one? But basically like a positive and negative side. You know what I mean? Like where your extra pressure is going to go.
Well, you're talking like boil off or something from
no,
let's say
so
using
like
nitrogen or
so like let's say you fill these, you use these ones to pressurize the tanks, and then when the water rushes in there, it needs somewhere to go, and so instead of like putting it back in these tanks, it fills these ones like that
So
pressure.
like your bleed line?
Oh, you're talking about like a buffer tank.
Yeah, exactly. Like these are the buffer. Like these are the buffer tanks too, but like when the air gets pushed out of these, it fills up in here is what I'm thinking. But again, we're going to have to wait until they actually get the setup to fully understand how it works. So
yeah, quick note, they've got a lot of conduit run. That's what we see all over the place. There's a big pile of it to the top left, and they've did a bunch of trenching where they ran the CO2 lines from this CO2 tank down here. That's what you're seeing there with all the rebar, so they're going to patch that all back up. And the only other thing to note is if you go around to the other side of the integration tower.
Oh, they put the panels back on here.
Oh, wow, that's a big note. I missed that.
Yeah, they got those panels on, so only a little slit that's not covered up there, which is odd, but let me get us around to the other side.
Is that the same blue that we saw in the pipes, the glue?
No, this is just regular gray.
Tower steel.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other
but yeah, so they dug a little bit more into this direction, just behind where that crane is at, the yellow crane and the blue boom lift. So yeah, just right in there. They did that just right after our talk last week, and that was pretty much about it. So they excavated a little bit there, and then they stopped. So I'm still wondering if we're going to see anything of a water deluge system appear around the table. Because if they do the water deluge system before the OTF1, it's not this month. By the rate they're tracking, because there's so much welding that they have to do on that table, and to go through and be pulling up concrete and working underneath it, it's going to prevent any boom lifts from going up and working on the welding that needs to take place. So it's kind of a showstopper there.
Yeah, for sure. But this is looking really cool. I like it from the aerial view. It looks it feels more real now with this shielding on there. Like it looks like and it's not even complete yet, but I mean it looks like a beast with all this stuff on here. So I'm excited. Now all we got left is to actually clad that tower, which hopefully happens soon. I'm guessing that'll probably be after the first launch as well too, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's aesthetics from that point on up, pretty much. It's the bottom part that you have to worry about.
To some degree. I mean, if the booster blows up on the pad, well, never mind. I take that back. Cladding's not going to really do any good if this thing explodes on the pad. Like, the tower's gone either way. So, yeah, but I imagine during landing, it may be a good idea to have this cladded. Like, let's say your engine's gimbal towards the tower for a brief second as they're as it's coming down. Like, it'd probably be a good idea to have that cladding on there. So, but yeah. Other than that, I think we've covered most of the updates for this week. Huge shout out to everybody who came back for part 3 of this episode. And want to apologize for those technical difficulties again. YouTube is kind of unpredictable sometimes. So that and the combination of OBS occasionally will have issues. So yeah, thank you all for coming back for part 2. I think we also have some questions that we should probably answer before we end the show. So
and donations.
Yeah, and donations that we had that we should cover as well too. So Mauricio, do you want to shoot those off?
And then, sir, you can read off the donations first.
Okay.
You can.
Sure. So we wanted to thank, we have several new supporters. Ian Tibbetts, Douglas Richardson, Andy Law, and Boss Hogg all became RGV flight members. Welcome to the team. We also have gifted memberships. Sorry, I did that one. We have a gifted donation from Lyric Bread to Tinman and from Chrome Kiwi to Donald Monroe. We also have donations from Astro Joe with $10 saying, halfway through the stream, train version 2.0 leaving the station. All aboard? Very funny, Astro Joe. 55 Chevy Guy Steve with $10. Choo choo. John Dopker, $10. I'll take a first class ticket for Sunny. Jim Cavett, $5. He's on board. Jim Cavett came in again with another $5 and says, "We love you all." Then we also have $9.99 from I Am Groot, who says, "I am Groot." Rocket with $9.99. Astro Joe again, train version 3.0. John Dopker with a donation of $5 says, "2 trains off the rails, 3rd train coming into the station." Y'all are so funny. And then we have a super sticker from a very lovely person whose name I cannot pronounce. And that's it for the donations.
All right, so I got a lot of questions, but I'll try and choose the most important ones here. From Cosmic, will the new Deluge be like SLS sound suppression water Deluge? Would it be similar to
that? New water Deluge would basically it would suppress sound, which is a huge amount of the energy that's coming out of it at the basically the concrete level. And so when you're launching for the first, probably 3-4 seconds, that's when you're taking most of the energy right there, especially as you start up the engines and everything else. That's when you're going to be getting a lot of heat. So it's just reducing the amount of, I guess you could say, vibration and the destruction of the pad and the surrounding area. But last static fire we had for 31 engines at 50% throttle, or about there, the pad looked great. Like, we could do it again. We're looking great. The amount of concrete that we saw coming off of it wasn't that much. We did have concrete coming off from other pieces, like the berm seemed to have a little bit in some other areas outside of underneath the launch table. But overall, it was pretty nice. So having that water deluge system just reduces the amount of concrete replacement. So maintenance cycles decrease because of that. So I think we can look at orbital test flight without the water deluge. They looked at doing it for a long time without the water deluge, and now they're like, okay, we're going to actually do some water deluge or variation thereof. So we're going to see it probably happen, I hope, after this first orbital test flight. So it'll be at the second test flight, we would have that whole system, and we could kind of compare and contrast to see how it works.
All right. The next question here is from 55 Chevy Guy Steve. Will the S24 FTS be armed at the pad just before the lift onto the booster or after?
Yeah, it'd be armed before they lift it up. But there's also probably 3 or 4 different safety mechanisms themselves, where if it doesn't have connections to certain systems, it doesn't operate. So there's mechanical safeties and there's electrical safeties for the FTS systems I've looked up. Most of those are for missiles, but they work pretty much the same here as well. So you'll have multiple safety systems. You'll have basically the FTS partially armed, you could say, once it's on the ship. Then it gets lifted. So they've gone through and removed, let's say, the manual side of it because they can't get up there afterwards. It's a bit too tall.
All right, the next question is from Chris P. Bacon. Where is SpaceX with the FAA launch license? Do we know yet?
Just rumors that they're working on it, but other than that, we don't know the exact the timeline and placement, because it could be, we've had the joke go around that it could be like the Windows installation for like any software. It gets stuck at 99%. It's that last 1%. We're just like, come on, you can do it. But yeah, we don't know where they're at exactly.
All right, next question, from John Dopker. How thick are those shield plates? And then somebody else asked, are they removable for maintenance?
These are directly welded on for most of the shield plates. Only the things like the doors and the cover on the back can you go through and remove. They're just bolted in place for those. But their thickness is ranging from about like 1 to 1.5 to 2 inches. The top plate is at least closer to 2 inches. It's pretty thick.
All right, and then we have Black Eagle and Senti that kind of ask the same thing. From Senti, is there any confirmation the gaps on the sites will be closed? Is it closed up on the sites between the panels anywhere yet?
We only saw the top piece where they're removed the paint to close off the top, and then the sides should basically follow the same. we've seen this before with the awning pieces in the past.
And Black Eagle basically asked if they would fully weld the shielding before OFT1 or after.
They should do it before the first orbital test flight, because you do not want those shields flying off and running into things. Because think of it this way: it's Hurricane on steroids and plywood sheets. Like, you don't want to see these things flying through the air, going to the orbital tank farm or the integration tower or anything else nearby. So you want those very well secured down, and so far they've got them secured down so that they don't move anywhere. Right now they're safe for people to work with, but not a rocket.
And then the last question here from Jonathan. Do we believe SpaceX will install more cladding on Mechazilla for the first orbital launch?
They could make a mad dash to get the bottom sections more flushed out, but I don't expect to see that.
And I think that's it. We have more questions, but I think that's it for now. Anything else you guys want to touch base on? Did you show the IMAX camera on top of the tower?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I forgot about that. Let me pull that up really quick.
You can actually see it. There's like kind of a blue truck for the tower's pointed at. There's that little gray box right there. So when you get to the ground images, you can understand where we're looking at. But it's on the very top of the tower where that pointed piece is to that truck.
Have a good image of it. I'm just trying to find it. This kind of shows the top of the tower, but this isn't the best view for it. So
yeah, he has got a good one that zooms in directly to it. By the way, they've taken off, as you can see, a lot of the scaffolding. So the scaffolding's all gone, pretty much there, and a lot of it below is gone. And this just got tape all over it. That's funny.
Yeah, so we got an IMAX camera on top of the launch tower, so that's going to be pretty exciting. Can't wait to see what that looks like. But we actually already have seen footage from that, right?
Not that one. It was below. So if you go down a little bit, you might be able to still see it. Okay, yeah, it's zoomed in too much. There's a couple of cameras right there to the left.
Oh, these ones.
Yep. So we saw some photos from there. So when they did the static fire for the 31 engine, that's where it was at.
It's awesome.
But yeah, as I said, scaffolding's removed there. It's been a bunch of it's been removed inside of that area as well. All you've got is pretty much those stairs and a little bit here and there. And then further on down, if we look at the arm itself, they've removed a bit of scaffolding here. It's still got quite a bit, but they have removed some. It's reduced. It's not completely removed yet. And then they added more on the end of the arm, but we'll see what happens with that. I'm hoping a lot of this just goes away and we can now have our launch here closer to the end of the month.
The end of which month exactly?
Of this month, March, I'm hoping. I mean, with everything they have, they're pushing that timetable, but it looks like we could do it. Just don't do the water deluge, please. Because then you're like a month or two out.
All right. Well, is that the end of our questions there?
I think that's it for now before we end the stream here. But anything else y'all want to touch base on aside from that? Or you guys want to wrap it up?
I think that's it.
I think we're good to go. Thanks everyone for another stream. Again, sorry for those technical difficulties. But if you guys want to hop on to Discord after, I believe some of us will be staying around for a while to answer more questions if you guys would like. So,
and you're a Patreon or YouTube member. Those are benefits of being a Patreon or YouTube member for RGV.
Yeah. So we will see you all there. For now, I will see you all next week. And I'll pass this off to Thomas.
It's been great again. Hope we get closer to that orbital test flight. Really enthusiastic about it. And see you again next week. Off to you, Indian Star.
Hey folks, sorry for all the technical difficulties. Next week will be better. Thanks for joining us and see you guys next week. Mauricio.
Yes, thanks everybody for the support, donations, and for watching, right? For sticking around for all 3 parts. And that's it for me, Grandpa Joe.
All right, guys. Main engine cut off. Stage separation confirmed. Love you. Bye.